Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to this week's Monday Motivation. The motivation designed for your Monday, your morning, and even your week. And because today it's the first of the month, I hope it's your month. So happy St. David's Day to those of you who celebrate St. David's Day, and for my friends that are listening from overseas, St. David's Day is in the true celebration of Wales. And for the rest of that, you can look on the big search engine. So today, I thought I would talk about motivation and the mindset for motivation. So let me start by what that means. When I say mindset, it's really the way that you think about stuff. And as Wayne Dyer very famously said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And how do you do that when you're either in the middle of something emotional, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe you're feeling demotivated? So mindset is one way to approach it. But I thought we would look at motivation for being motivated, because for most of us, we can watch videos like this, we can read books, we can even listen to music which might pump us up. But ultimately, when it comes to getting our stuff done in the week, it's us propelling ourselves forward. It's us moving ourselves along. It's us getting stuff done. And there are kind of two kind of energetic forces within you to tap into. One where you hammer it hard, and another where you let things happen, you allow things to happen, you stay in flow. And many people look at choosing one over the other, not both. And, you know, like with everything, if you think kind of a bit yin and yang, there's a little bit of everything and one complements another. So rather than looking at one thing or another thing, a bit like life balance, you know, why not try life harmony where two things come together? The same goes for motivating ourselves to be motivated. So as it's Monday, I thought it would be a great time to do these. Now, I've been running these Monday motivations for, it's coming up to 4 3/4 years nearly, you know, but I've been doing them for a long time. I've been doing them as Facebook Lives for this amount of time, but actually where these started from were when I was a senior manager within financial services, and Mondays often got a bit of a bad reputation. There were things that people dreaded, things that people went, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do. And like, if you're going to start a week, especially if it's a busy week or a fresh new week, and that's the kind of the spirit that you come into it with, then you kind of setting yourself up for a tough week. So these motivations were designed to really help you to be able to self-motivate every week. So what better thing to do than to cover mindset for motivation? So as a life coach, as a business coach, I often see, and I know many of you do as well, because many of you too are coaches, you're authors, you're speakers, you're consultants, you're freelancers, and some of you are even employed professionals. So you work at senior positions in sales, in marketing, in events, as CEOs, and you manage small teams. So sometimes your motivation can kind of rub off on the people around you. And I'm saying good morning to you, Alan. Long time no see. I hope you're doing well. I know that you've been a busy bee. Alan is one of those coaches, speakers, and people that motivate, probably without even intending to motivate, but Alan has a very, very inspirational story. So when we're looking at motivation and motivating ourselves, there are 3 things that I've picked out. Of course, there's lots more, but in the spirit of keeping this short, sharp, sweet, and having you kind of buzzing to be motivated, there are a couple of things. So I was really privileged to be in a room on Clubhouse with somebody who, man, they were motivated, not in a Tony Robbins kind of pumping you up way, but they were motivated because of like some of the things that they've gone through in their own story. You know, it's always amazing to me how some people who've like trodden through a life of treacle, how they come out of the other end springy and zingy and ready to motivate others in spite of everything. as I mentioned, Alan's one of those people. I hope, Alan, you'll take a moment to go into the Vibes Tribe and introduce or reintroduce yourself, because there's a lot of new people in there that don't know your story, and like Alan's story is incredibly inspiring too. So I was in this room in Clubhouse, and there was somebody that was speaking about some of the things they'd gone through. Now, we all know we're in a global pandemic. We all know that about a year ago, many of us were like, whoa, what is going on? What's happening? And some of us have the tools to kind of navigate those. And some of us, even with the tools, you know, we faced a lot of tough and challenging situations. A lot of things that, you know, we hadn't been in this position before, so we didn't know what we were going to do with it. So this kind of like has tested many people globally, you know, and you know, there was something that I heard said recently, we're not all in the same boat, but we're in the same storm. So what do you do when you need to pump up your mindset? What do you do when we're not all in the same boat and you've got different things coming at you, and you know, we're not, you know, in the same storm? So I just want to say, Alan has very kindly said that he's going to post something in the group. Please do. And for anyone who is in the group or new, just so that you know, if you go to the top of the page, you can click the visit the group link. So anything that you post in the group will only be seen by other people in the group. So your great aunt Edna, your friends, your family, your work colleagues won't see what you post in the Vibes Tribe. And also to really make sure that it's a private space. Anytime you create a post, it will say needs approval. Don't worry about it. It will be approved as long as it's obviously not something weird and zany and, you know, just doesn't belong in the group. Anyway, so these three mindset for motivations, I've picked just three. Yes, there are more. And in fact, as humans, we have different drivers. If you think of yourself on a sliding scale, it's a bit like the introvert-extrovert scale. You can be high at one end, high at the other end, or anywhere in between. As humans, we've got 24 drivers. So I'll do another motivation about, not all of them in one, but some of those drivers. So the first thing with when you have a mindset for motivation, the first thing that I notice in people who are highly driven or who have gone through a really exceptional story, an exceptional life, is that they're decisive. Now, what does that mean? This doesn't mean that they say to themselves, right, what do I do? This thing, I'm doing that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that. It means that they make the decision within themselves to decide what's next. So, you know, when I think of like some of these different stories, you know, one of the stories that I heard in Clubhouse was of someone who started a business, and they started a business and started a family, and during COVID, unfortunately, the mother of his child passed away, leaving him as a new dad to raise a child, you know, by himself. And I think to myself, wow, that, you know, that would have been a devastating time, and probably to this day still is. You know, it's not like it happened eons ago, so he hasn't had the passage of time to kind of, you know, work through and live with this situation. But how interesting that so many people find themselves with a loss that, you know, is really significant, and where they decide to go in their minds. Now, this isn't discounting grief, because obviously grief is part of the process. What this shows is there was something within this person's mind that they likely didn't even know they had until this situation happened. And they could have decided to be stuck, which is what happens a lot of time in a grief cycle, and I have very personal experience of this as well. They could have been stuck in the grief cycle. They could have been stuck with the grief and overwhelm that grief itself brings. You know, oh my gosh, this is so awful, how will I ever live again? And then some people get stuck at that place and literally don't know how to get themselves out of it. But this person decided to decide, and I'm going to come on to the third point of what that is in a moment. So the first thing that I noticed, and what I would invite you to do for this week, especially if you've got a busy week, you've got a lot in, is not just make a decision, because make a decision is one such thing, but decide for yourself where you are going to decide to be in this particular scenario. So if there's one that, you know, you've got, maybe you're confused, or you've got overwhelmed, or you're struggling with, or you're worried about, what's your decision on that? What will you decide to decide? So that's the first thing. So the second thing is permission. When you have made that decision, you start to take actions that follow that decision. And that's often when people say, no, I've decided what I'm going to do, and then they don't follow the actions. They've decided they're going to launch something, and then they don't do the work to follow it. Why? Because it's hard. It's not always easy. You know, I can't sugarcoat it and say everything will be easy. You can learn from people, from webinars, from videos, from all sorts of things to make things easier, but it doesn't mean it's going to be effortless and completely a breeze. You might be able to learn it in a way that feels in flow, and I talked about the two energies. There's kind of like more of a push, which is sometimes needed, and sometimes once you've had that initial push, you can be in flow, a bit like an airplane taking off. There's a lot of energy as it's getting ready to take off on the runway, and it uses most of its energy in that first ascent, and then it starts to coast, it starts to glide, you know, this big metal box in the air. So are you giving yourself permission to do the thing that you've decided to do? And with that, on the second point of permission, is often we will break promises to ourselves. You know, as a visibility specialist, I really specialise in helping you to stand out there. My visibility has actually got nothing to do with it. It's not about asking you to be more visible and tagging me every time you post or anything else like that. Although, you know, on some occasions I might say, you know, include this or include that. It's all about you being ready anytime, any place, anywhere to put yourselves out there. In fact, this week I will be speaking to a group of businesses who are like home decor, interior designer type businesses, and talking a bit more about how to get yourself out there, especially if you're doing it like this on video. There are so many ways. It's not just about the video anymore. It could be about the online courses, it could be about the coaching, it could be about the panels, it could be about the public speaking, it could be about the meetings. All this which has been shown in the last year is possible and doable and can still be engaging on camera. So if you've decided, right, I'm going to get out there more this year, and then you've maybe got a slight fear of being out there, you know, you're a great speaker, but when it comes to being on camera, you think, oh no, I don't like this. Then if you've made the decision that you're going to get out there, then you need to follow on where you've given yourself permission and you keep the promises to yourself. You've said to yourself, I'm going to get out there, I'm going to do this. Then look for ways that you can do that. Because when you don't do that, you break the promises to yourself. And that's actually, in my experience, what stops people from moving forward and propelling forward. Because, you know, they've broken the promise to themselves, and then a little niggly doubt starts to set in that says, oh, I tried this before and it didn't work. And for many people, it can then end up taking them longer than they intended. So definitely something to put in your toolkit for mindset for motivation. So the first one is make a decision. The second one is keep the promises to yourself by giving yourself permission and allowing yourself to go down that track. And then the third one is outcomes. So just before I talk about outcomes, you know, if you've made a decision and you've made a decision to do something that moves you along, and you have kept the promises to yourself and given yourself permission to go and do the thing that you do, and like I say, it's not always easy, it's sometimes scary, why not do it in an environment of people that will propel and push you along? Ultimately, you need to keep yourself accountable, you need to be the one that does the work, you need to be the one that behind closed doors you propel it. But it's the reason why I'm such a fan of masterminds, coaching groups, because sometimes other people within that group who are striving for similar things to you will ask something that you didn't know, and by listening to their answer you get to learn something that you didn't even know that you had as a question to ask. It's the reason why even though there's a pandemic, I'm running my second live event, second 3-day live event, because in the grand scheme of a year, I think 3 days is a pretty short amount of time to knuckle down, move forward, and go for the thing that you want. And I believe you can do it in a shorter space of time with the right help and the right support. So if you haven't seen what's in the banner, I think it's still showing the pre-sale tickets. We go into early bird tickets today, and you know, if you want to grab a ticket, you can actually grab yourself a general or VIP ticket. What's the difference? In short, if you go for a VIP ticket and you can't make all of the sessions, you will get access to the recordings of all of those sessions, and you can listen back time and time again. You get an upgraded goodie bag. You get a goodie bag anyway, but if you're a VIP, you get an upgraded goodie bag with things to help you navigate those 3 days. You'll have a lovely, beautifully designed PDF printout where you can scribble your notes down, which also includes your moving forward plan. So I really would love to see you. The event is called Get Out There. It's about visibility, impact, and sales, and being able to do that even during these times where you might be limited in how you can go out there and tell people about your business and about what you're working on, about what you're doing. And the reason that the sales piece is in there is I don't want you just to be comfortable being visible. I don't want you just to be comfortable making an impact. I really want you to be comfortable selling your services without all of the usual funnels and bells and whistles that are associated with that. It is totally, totally doable. Okay, so the third thing that I wanted to talk about is outcomes. People often talk about going for your goals and, you know, setting goals and objectives and things like that, which is an important piece. But the most important piece, when you have a mindset to motivate yourself or to be motivated, or a mindset simply for motivation, is having outcomes. Now, the first thing is to make sure that those outcomes are clear so that you know exactly where you're headed towards. Most people focus on the steps of how they're going to get there, you know, ticking all the boxes and finishing everything and having it be perfect before they go for the outcome. But the truth is, if you've got the outcome set and you're going for it, then you can set your goals in stone and your plans in sand. You can navigate those and still achieve your goals. And you know what that goal is, what you're looking for. That becomes motivational. So if you, and self-motivational. So if you've got a busy week and you've said, for example, by the end of the week, I want to have contacted X amount of people to ask them to, you know, join my panel or something like that, or something that you're doing. If you have set that down in stone, then it means that every day, rather than feeling that overwhelm of, I don't know what to do, what should I do next, you can say, well, my outcome for this week is to this thing. You might have 3 or 4. It means that the actions that you take in the week can be more in the zone, can be more in flow, and can be more driven. And because you've decided this is what I want to do, and you've made the promise to yourself, and this is you know, why I'm doing it, so I'm giving myself permission, you're now able to contact the people who it's relevant for. You're able to make the actions it's relevant for. So, you know, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't received the 5 pillars to get yourself out there, it's a free download that I've got. I'll put a link below. And if you're not on my email list to receive that, or haven't received anything like that, then simply click on the link, enter your email address, and you'll receive a message from me maybe once or twice a week. You will hear a lot more about the Get Out There event and whether you can make it or not. Have a look at the page, have a look at, you know, where you need to be when it comes to getting out there. I'll also be sharing next week a series of like expanding more deeply into 3 really great mindsets for motivation, especially when you're looking at putting yourself out there. So thank you so much for watching. As usual, thank you for sharing this, and share this on your timeline, because you never know who of your friends or family might be struggling in this area and could use some support. You know, it's free, it's complimentary, it's the start of the week, and it's a Monday. Thank you so much for watching. If you've liked or loved anything I've said in there, then give me a thumbs up on this video and share with your friends. And I look forward to seeing those of you that are in Clubhouse just later this morning. And for those of you at my coaching clients, I look forward to creating and co-creating with you so that you can do the things that you've promised yourself to. So thank you so much for watching, and get in touch if you need any more steer as to how we could work together to do this. Thank you so much for joining, Alan. I'm really looking forward to seeing your share in the group, because so many people are really needing this right now, and you've definitely navigated tough waters. And Alan said, thanks Jenny, needed this to get me going this morning. I think I've needed it for myself too, Alan. So as birthday twins, I think our job is done. Let's go out there, be seen, be heard, and get visible, and be highly motivated doing it. Bye for now. Thank you, Alan. Bye for now.